Hello everyone. Today I would like to express some of the much needed crypto skepticism and most specifically very harsh criticism towards the entire cryptocurrency space right now, and most notably Bitcoin itself, Ethereum, and the plethora of shitcoins that have been now trending over the top, and it seems like the train is unstoppable. Hot take, and this might really seem outrageous coming from me, if you've been listening to my voice for a couple of months or years by now. I don't think that Bitcoin, or by that extension any other cryptocurrency right now on the market, is ready. And by ready, I mean ready for daily use as a currency, that word in the cryptocurrency term. It's not just the privacy issues that I've been talking about last time when I was criticizing Bitcoin. That alone is pretty important. Like every time you go to pay someone, they can immediately see how much you have in your wallet, and they can see all of your past transactions and all of your future transactions. That is ridiculous, and it could be used for so many different ways of abuse that it's never going to be used as a currency if it's open like that. It is good for tracking government spending or charity donations and stuff like that, but as a day-to-day currency for institutions that need privacy and secrecy in a lot of times, and for individuals, definitely whistleblowers, journalists, or just regular citizens, we don't want to give up all of our financial privacy every time we make a transaction with someone. But the most important issue right now is that the entire design of Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies out there is just completely incapable of adoption in the real world. Like, take a look at Bitcoin right now. The transaction fees are prohibitively high, right? You're never going to use Bitcoin to pay for a cup of coffee and then pay like $20 in a transaction fee in order to get it through. And if you don't want to pay those high fees, then you might be waiting months for transactions to be confirmed just once, right? The incentive mechanism behind Bitcoin mining, it was trying to solve a problem, and the solution to the problem was double spending. Because we don't want to trust a central authority like Visa or MasterCard or central banks or commercial banks, but like centrally owned commercial banks, we want to have a decentralized mechanism that confirms the validity of Bitcoin transactions. So we develop this proof of work mechanism, and in order for people to participate willingly in this proof of work mechanism, we give them a monetary reward for that in terms of fees, and in terms of when you mine a block, you get like, what is it now, 12.5, I think, or something like that, like 12, I think it's 12 Bitcoin, maybe 6.5, I don't know. I don't really care at this point, because the issue is that miners are incentivized to pick transactions that pay the highest amount of fees, right? And that naturally rewards transactions of people who are making larger transactions and want them to be transacted faster or transferred faster. So many people that are going into this Bitcoin space from retail environment, not big investors, but regular people like you and me, maybe, we don't have the money to pay the draconian transaction fees. It's prohibitive for us, right? And it seemed to be the case that Bitcoin was trying to be this tool of economic liberation, giving bank to the unbanked, right? Giving access to the finances to the people that banks would never want to touch because they are too poor. Well, here we go. Bitcoin tried to solve that, and it failed. It completely failed. And it failed on the deep technological design that is unlikely going to change anytime soon, in decades. Yes, I really do mean decades, not just years or months, even though there is an upcoming Taproot upgrade that is supposed to improve Bitcoin's privacy, but not really. There are layer 2 solutions, like with the Lightning Network, but these layer 2 solutions are basically like traditional financial institutions trying to print sort of Bitcoin out of thin air, not giving you actual Bitcoin, but sort of pretending that there is Bitcoin, and making financial products this way, like loans and deposits and all the stuff like that. So But what is even the point of having this extremely extremely costly and time-consuming and energy-expensive financial system that blockchain is and Bitcoin is, when we have layer 2 solutions that are going to reintroduce centralization and third parties and middlemen between you and your transactions, right? That doesn't really make sense, but that is entirely what seems to be happening right now. We have all these. I've made a video on PayPal. Like, PayPal is trying to introduce cryptocurrency into their ecosystem. Why would you want to use PayPal for cryptocurrency transactions? Like, that completely defeats the purpose. But it's not just PayPal that's doing this. It's the entire concept of layer 2 solutions. But the problem is that without layer 2 solutions, none of these decentralized, permissionless blockchain cryptocurrencies are going to be able to scale. And if they're not going to be able to scale, then they're going to be prohibitively expensive for regular people to use, which kind of defeats the purpose of them being the tool of economic liberation if they're only available to the rich. And then comes the next point, speaking of the rich. Not that being rich is a problem on its own, but it is a problem if you have an unjust access to the monetary supply, and you can sort of manipulate monetary supply. And one way you can manipulate monetary supply is to hoard money, right? And it's not an issue if you have inflation, because if you have inflation, you don't want to hoard money, you want to invest, right? Hoarding money would not be a wise solution, because you would be the money that you have wherever would be losing value, and you would only be able to purchase less. But with Bitcoin, this is not the case, because you know that Bitcoin has a capped supply. It's in 2140, I think. That'll be the last Bitcoin mined, and there'll be no more Bitcoin. It'll be around 21 million. However, a pretty big percentage of Bitcoin, or Bitcoins, have already been lost. People lose their wallets, their private keys, they're seized, or their hard drives are destroyed, or they lose paper copies, whatever, and they just lose it forever, and they will never be recoverable. And Satoshi even made a statement about this, and he said, like, every time somebody loses their Bitcoin, the value of everyone else's Bitcoin is going to increase a little bit, right? But and he even said, like, think of this as like an unwitting donation or something to that effect, right? But this is not something that you would be happy about if that happened to you. Like, oh my God, I just lost what, like 3 Bitcoin, right? Let's say it's my entire fortune, like my life savings in Bitcoin. My pension, I'm 65 years old and I lost my pension in Bitcoin. Now that would be horrible. You wouldn't be happy about other people, having more value, more purchasing power with their Bitcoin because you lost yours. That's ridiculous. And that's the problem with decentralized, permissionless blockchain cryptocurrencies. There are no middlemen, there are no third parties, which is awesome. But also there are no guarantees. There is no way to, prevent fraud, because the transactions are irreversible. And, let's say you're trying to buy a house. Let's say you want to buy a house with like 4 or 5 or 10 Bitcoin today, right? Because a $500,000 house today, right? So 10 Bitcoin or something like that, and you accidentally send it to a wrong address. And let's say that address is valid, right? It's a real address and you send it to a wrong address. All you can do is look up that person, and if you manage to find their contact, if their address is tied to their identity and that identity is public, you can call them and, hey, could you please, give me back that Bitcoin that I accidentally sent you? And they might say, no, please, I won't send you anything. I'm in Russia, goodbye, right? And you're done. What are you going to do then? Nothing. The feds are not going to help you. The CIA is not going to invade Russia over your lost Bitcoin. Right? This is going to happen to many people around the world, and this is something that has been happening. But now imagine that the address that you send it to is invalid, or it's not accessible. It doesn't belong to anyone, right? It's one of those wallets that has been lost, and there is no one to call. And your Bitcoin is lost forever. It's irreversible. Even if everybody would try to help you There's nothing they can do, right? So these kind of errors that are going to be happening to people, and especially poor people, because they're not going to have access to security or technology professionals to help them navigate this new space. They're going to be losing their fortune. They're going to be losing their bitcoins. And the same goes for any other decentralized, permissionless cryptocurrency out there, including Monero, right? And Ethereum and all of the other ones. That's crazy. Like, let's talk about these shitcoins, right? These dog coins that even Vitalik Buterin, the mastermind behind Ethereum, he never said anything negative about them, really. He never condemned them or something like that. And if anything, he did the exact opposite. He gave them more spotlight. But all of these Dogecoin and Shiba, whatever, I don't know what they are called, they are trending all day, every day. They are beating Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of how much interest there is on social media and, Google Trends and stuff like that. Not in terms of price or market cap or anything like that. That will never happen, hopefully. But people are like regular people, not like the Bitcoin enthusiasts that have been there from the beginning, but like regular people that are just getting into cryptocurrency right now because of the all-time highs of Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies and breaching $1 trillion market cap. They're getting into these shitcoins, Dogecoin and bullshit like that. And the Monero, Ethereum, Bitcoin enthusiasts, we say don't go into these shitcoins because they are bad, they have bad design, right? But what is so fundamentally different between Dogecoin and Bitcoin? There is none. They are basically the same. I mean, Dogecoin doesn't have a limited supply, but that limited supply is not a feature. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a feature, because with Bitcoin, you have limited supply, and every time somebody loses their Bitcoin, the overall value of Bitcoin should technically rise, supply demand. But what the rich people would want to do is that they would want to hoard Bitcoin. Nobody would ever want to spend Bitcoin if its value is only going to increase. Like, it doesn't really make sense to have a permanently deflationary, quote-unquote, store of value, right? Because that's kind of like this new term that these cryptocurrency nuts are trying to throw at you. They say, oh, Bitcoin, that it's not supposed to be like day-to-day currency. There's all of these other small currencies are for that, or layer 2 solutions are for that. But Bitcoin, layer 1 on its own, that blockchain, that's gonna be store of value. But they have no idea what store of value is, because the US dollar is store of value. Fiat currency is store of value. Store of value, because that if you buy bread for $1 today, you can buy it for the same price in the morning, in the evening, throughout the day, at night, the next day, the next week, hopefully. There is some inflation in the US dollar, but that if you're gonna get your paycheck this month, you're still gonna be able to pay your rent next week with that paycheck, right? But you don't have that safety or guarantee with Bitcoin. You can get your paycheck in Bitcoin, and the next day it can be 60% less, right? So Bitcoin is the best word that describes all of these cryptocurrencies right now, and including Bitcoin, is that it is just speculation. It is not investment, and it's definitely not a currency. It is not store of value. It is not. There is nothing valuable in cryptocurrencies. And you might be saying like, "Oh, you are crazy. You've been shilling cryptocurrencies on your channel for 3 years or whatever, and you have cryptocurrency wallets on your channel. And why are you saying this right now? Did you lose money on cryptocurrency because of the crash that happened?" And of course I did, because some people have donated, and the value of their donations went up like 3,000%, and then it went down like 900 million%. So you can always say that I'm losing value. But I've been always kind of skeptical about this. Like, we need something more, right? This is a wonderful piece of technology. It is very interesting, and it is definitely something that we need to pay attention to. And there are problems with centralized financial systems, with central banking, with fractional reserve banking, with commercial banks, you know, basically sleeping in the same bed with investment banks and manipulating all of our money and doing all of those horrible things that have caused the 2008 financial crisis. I've talked about it on my channel, you know, but all of those horrible things that have been happening in the traditional centralized financial systems, they did not disappear. They actually moved to the decentralized financial systems as well. You know, like the value of the US dollar can be manipulated by the Fed printing more dollar, or by banks lending more money, or by the bond market with the derivatives, you know, and basically just giving money to anyone that asks for it. You know, that devalues what you have in your wallet. But all of that is happening with Bitcoin, with all of these shitcoins, and with all of these quote-unquote layer 2 solutions, right? All of that is there. And the only difference right now is that when you are in a centralized financial system, at least you have some fraud prevention there. At least you have some legal system that is going to hold you back if you're trying to do something stupid, or if you're a victim of some sort of a crime. At least they're going to try to do something to help you. In many cases, they're just gonna screw you, whatever, but at least there is something, right? But with cryptocurrencies, there is absolutely nothing. There is nothing. It's just you, and that's it. You know, if you make a mistake, you're done. If somebody else defrauds you, you're done. Nobody's coming to help you. You know, there is no federal agencies coming to save your Bitcoin, right? And I've been hearing more and more people saying, like, before the January 2021 or February 21, whenever the all-time high Bitcoin happened, before April or May, I think, it was that they are investing into cryptocurrency because they don't believe what the Fed is doing. And I don't believe what the Fed is doing either. I don't like that, you know, we have a centralized, non-political agency that is not beholden to the electorate deciding what we get, how much value our money has. But with Bitcoin, you know, they were investing into it as a hedge against inflation. That's another buzzword that they say, like, oh, Bitcoin, it's a hedge against inflation. It's better than stock. Look at how much the price of Bitcoin has risen over the past 10 years. That's incredible. And it is incredible, but it's just pure, utter speculation. Nothing about that has any real world backing, or, you know, any real world value in terms of products, because there is no, like, major implementation of Bitcoin where you can actually buy something valuable with Bitcoin. There are some niche examples and some fringe, you know, cases where you can spend Bitcoin or whatever, and most of the time you can just only buy a VPN with Bitcoin and some other products of this sort. But you know, you cannot go to a store and pay with cryptocurrency, because it doesn't really make sense, right? That's sort of my question, like, why value cryptocurrencies? What is there to value about them? Because I don't see anything that we should value about cryptocurrencies at this point, right? It is amazing that there is this technology that is trying to solve some problems with central banking, but really, why we should value Bitcoin at 30,000, 50, 60,000, 100,000? Why? And the answer is, there is no why. There is no reason why Bitcoin should be priced at certain level or not. That's my another issue with Bitcoin, is that this whole adoption, institutional adoption or whatever other kinds of adoption that are being seen right now, These people, they are not interested in the technology behind Bitcoin. They are only interested in gains. All they care about is making more money. And they don't care, they don't mind shorting Bitcoin, right? Tanking its price so that they can buy lower and then increase the price so that they can dump it on retailers. That's been happening all the time. You know, like all the time we see these patterns of Bitcoin prices pumping so high and retail investors, quote unquote investors, you know, like regular people like you and me, they go in and they buy the top and then it crashes down suddenly. And then people are losing their fortunes, right? It's not just happening with Bitcoin, it's mostly happening with those Dogecoin and all of those stupid shit coins. And if you say anything against those coins, including Bitcoins, they're coming after you. These people, regular people on the Reddit and on all these other forums, they are coming after you. They're coming to dox you. They are coming to harass you. They are going to send you death threats if you say anything critical, anything negative about their coins. If you reveal something that is true about their coins, they are going to make you kill yourself or kill you specifically, even though that has never happened, hopefully. But you know, they are incredibly toxic, and they don't take any criticism. This is why it is so strange that Elon Musk is pumping these shit coins, right? Tweeting about them all the time, as if they had any sort of real world application, and then he pretends like he's innocent in there. But if you criticize Elon Musk, the same thing happens as when you criticize these shitcoins. You know, you cannot criticize Elon Musk on the internet right now because the horde of idiots that believe every word that Musk says is going to come after you. They're going to come to dox you, to harass you, to send death threats, to send violent threats. It's insane. Like, what is going on? What's happening? I don't understand. What is going on with this whole space? And I'm frustrated with this space because I'm one of those people who are naively believing in the fundamental principles behind it. Like the first time I've heard of Bitcoin, I've been reading the white paper years ago, like in the early years of Bitcoin, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I wish I had money to buy Bitcoin because I know that it's going to increase in price. And I really wish I had the money because now I probably would be rich, but I'm not rich because I didn't have money back then and I believed in the technology. And that's why I have the cryptocurrency wallets on my YouTube channel. I do believe in the technology, but I don't think it is ready. And my big problem with all of this is that the people who are now in charge of making cryptocurrency ready for mass adoption, for the everyday Jane and Joe, these people, they are not interested in that. As I said, they are only interested in making sure that they make money. They don't necessarily even care if the price keeps going up. All they care about is that they can have their own pump and dump schemes, and they can trick regular people into pumping their money into currency at the top, and then they dump it on them, and it's done. They fly away with their gains to some offshore crypto havens, tax havens, and they enjoy their yachts in Bahamas. And regular people, they are losing their life savings. They're losing. Some people are even borrowing money to buy cryptocurrencies, and they're losing that money that they borrowed. It's crazy. Like people have killed themselves over this, right? And all that these pumpers and maximalists have to say is that, oh well, if people are stupid with their money, this is their fault. Okay, you can say it's their fault. You know, it's pure gambling, but why are we even here? What is this about? Is this about the quote-unquote economic liberation, or is this about squeezing more wealth out of, you know, poor people and giving it to the rich? What is Bitcoin actually solving right now? I know what Bitcoin was trying to solve, but it is not solving it right now. And I don't really think that Bitcoin is actually fixing anything at this point. You know, they always say like, oh, Bitcoin fixes this, Bitcoin fixes that. Like that horrible speech that the Strike CEO had when announcing El Salvador on the Miami Bitcoin whatever conference. You know, Bitcoin fixes this. No, Bitcoin doesn't fix anything. Bitcoin tried to fix something, but the technology was not ready at the launch. And Satoshi acknowledged that. Satoshi, when WikiLeaks was adopting Bitcoin, and WikiLeaks was adopting Bitcoin because after the 2010 leaks on the U.S. war crimes in Iraq, WikiLeaks was charged with some sort of intelligence charges. I'm blanking on it right now, but the point is that all of the financial institutions, they were completely blacked out. They were not allowed to transact or process transactions with WikiLeaks. PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, banks, whatever, all gone. You know, no donations coming to WikiLeaks. So WikiLeaks decided to adopt Bitcoin, and in 2010, or about that time, there was no other cryptocurrency on the market. You know, Bitcoin was really like the only main viable option. And Satoshi was like, no, please don't adopt Bitcoin because the technology is not ready and we are not ready to face potential government banning Bitcoin, and we need more time, we need more adoption, and we need to think better about how we actually want to go about this. But WikiLeaks still adopted Bitcoin, and the price pumped then, and it just kept going up from there. But the thing is that, you know, technologically, not much has changed about Bitcoin since its launch. You know, there have been some updates like SegWit, and there's going to be Taproot. That's another major upgrade to the Bitcoin network. But Bitcoin is becoming more and more centralized and more prohibitive to just regular people. You know, the blockchain size is just way too big for people to just download. You know, people have data caps. And you wouldn't be able to download a Bitcoin blockchain over your data capped internet, right? Because it's just too big. Or even if you could, then where are you going to store it, right? That's another problem. For a lot of people, this is not a thing that they can solve, right? But the most important problem is with the mining. Mining is inevitably centralizing. You know, originally, if you read the white paper, it says 1 CPU, 1 vote. That's no longer the case because there is no CPU mining anymore. CPU mining was completely rejected to GPU mining because GPUs are so much better at doing the same thing over and over than CPUs, which are better at doing multiple different things at once, right? So GPUs completely crushed CPU mining. But then people realized, well, why don't we just build a machine that's only doing hashing and is not doing anything related to graphics or anything like that. And that's when ASIC came into place, and that's when people started actually pooling their CPU power, or their computing power or hash power together. And that's when you had these big corporations or some companies buying up ASIC rigs or building ASIC rigs, generating so much hash rate that they themselves became the threat of Bitcoin centralization. There have been some companies already in the past, like Gash.io or Ghash.io, I should say, and they had at some point like 51% of the mining power, of the hash power, right, of the entire Bitcoin network, which is a big problem, you know. But nothing bad happened at the time, but it is a problem. And right now there are like six major pools that control like 80% of the Bitcoin mining power. Until the recent mining ban in China, most of that power was in China, you know, and now they are start to move elsewhere, right? But what if all of these mining pools, they are the same company anyway, right? We don't know that, you know, but it could be the case. What if they just acquire one another and it's not 6 companies controlling 80% of the hash rate, but it's one company controlling 80% of the hash rate? And now they can do pretty much whatever they want. And you don't even have to control 51% of the network power to be able to censor or slow down Bitcoin transactions. And we've seen there is an American company that have mined the first quote-unquote OFAC compliant block, which is a block that censors transactions based on an OFAC blacklist, which is a list of people and organizations and institutions around the world with whom you're not allowed to make transactions with. Awesome, right? Now we have mining centralization right at the Bitcoin layer 1 network, and if organizations, corporations decide that they want to at least slow down your transactions so that you're not able to use your funds, this can be abused for so many things, like politically, like let's say you have a public funding of a protest or an organization for workers' rights, demonstrations for civil rights, human rights, whatever, and you accept Bitcoin donations, but then, you know, obviously your Bitcoin address is going to be public, so all of these miners, they're going to know that your transactions are going to this address, these are the donations for this purpose, for this protest, demonstration, whatever, so they decided to reject all of those donations that are coming to that wallet, to that address. And now you are eventually going to receive those donations, but maybe months after the event was supposed to happen, right? So this is how they can crush any sort of, you know, political or public organization of people or assembly of people. And it's not good. It doesn't really, you know, Bitcoin doesn't fix anything at this point, as I tried to say previously. You know, we wanted to have this decentralized financial system precisely because we wouldn't have any sort of authorities deciding what we can and cannot do with money. But that alone cannot be solved with technology. There are social pressures on Bitcoin that are manipulating its price, that are manipulating its adoption. There are laws being written in different countries and states and even even in cities. And nobody knows what to do with this, right? And you can always say, well, this is just the early beginning of the adoption. Like, look at the internet in the first 10 years of internet. Well, nobody knows really what the first 10 years of the internet was, but if you mean like the first 10 years of the commercial internet, yeah, that was pretty rocky. That was the dot-com bubble. But we are not just talking about a price bubble. We're talking about this space that is massively controlled by interest that is not our interest, that is not the interest of the people, and that is not the interest of the principles of decentralized blockchain cryptocurrency. That's my biggest problem. Like, I'm looking for these solutions to these problems of the Federal Reserve and central banking and financial censorship, and I don't find these solutions in decentralized blockchain cryptocurrency. I just don't, at least at this point. Again, I haven't said anything about Monero much, you know, but Monero is a decentralized permissionless blockchain cryptocurrency that is giving you some sort of privacy and anonymity of your transactions. And it can succeed to various level of extent, but Monero is not really adopted right now. So it's not tested very well against scalability. What if millions of people use Monero on a daily basis as a transaction method to pay for daily groceries? What's happened then? Is then Monero going to be able to sustain the transaction volume and the burden on the Monero network? Monero also struggles with decentralization of the mining power, right? Because Monero is actually trying to maintain CPU mining. It's pretty well resistant against GPU and ASIC mining. That's virtually impossible on Monero, which is a good thing. But also, most Monero miners are mining within a single pool, you know, and that pool could potentially attack the Monero network. I'm just not sure. You know, Monero, you know, is awesome, but all of the problems that I said about Bitcoin, that kind of applies to Monero as well, except for the privacy issues, which is only one problem out of many that I have with with blockchain cryptocurrencies. So this is sort of like my long rambling about why I'm a crypto skeptic, and I don't want people to get burned on cryptocurrency. Definitely don't do any trading with cryptocurrency, because that's just pure gambling, and you're gambling with money that you're 99% chance gonna lose. You know, you're always gonna hear this story like, I bought Bitcoin in 2014 and now I'm a trillionaire. Yeah, but that's like one person out of millions, really. you know, and most people are just going to lose money. Most of the time you're going to hear stories, oh, I invested 25,000 into Dogecoin and everybody told me that it's going to pump into the moon and now it's gone and I lost all the money and I don't have any money to pay for next rent and I don't have any food. What am I going to do? Those are the kinds of stories that you're going to hear, you know? So there's this survivorship bias that somebody wins the lottery, therefore we should all, you know, buy lottery tickets. That's crazy. You would never buy a lottery ticket. At least I hope you would never buy a lottery ticket, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to spend more money than you're willing to lose on lottery, because you're going to lose the lottery. And more than 99% of the cryptocurrency space right now is just lottery. You know, it doesn't really make sense to put to like do like your pension or retirement savings with Bitcoin. It doesn't really make sense. You know, because the fact that it can go down at any point so significantly completely wipes away that premise of store of value. It's never going to store your value. I shouldn't say never, but at least with the current technological state, it's not going to be a store of value, and it's not going to be a currency either. So what it's going to be? Just a massive pollution engine that nobody knows what to do with. And I don't want to be so doomer about this, but over the past few weeks and maybe even months, I've been sort of self-reflecting, and I've been naive, I think, about a lot of projects in the world right now, about a lot of movements that I've been also pushing on my channel. Like, I've been really trying to push hard this open source and free software movement, and you know, get rid of copyright and patents on proprietary software, and that will solve everything. And I was also a big proponent of decentralization, and I still am. I still am a big proponent of all of these things. But I kind of need to be more skeptical and more critical of what these things are actually capable of solving and doing, you know, because they are not gonna do all of those beautiful things that we thought that they would. Because there's always going to be social pressure that's going to be against our interests, and that's going to be pushing against the principles of those very foundations and movements. So it's not so easy as just, well, we're going to all just accept Bitcoin and that's done. We don't ever have any more financial problems. You know, that's not the case. So I'm going to need to be more critical and more skeptical in the future, and I'm going to need to figure out a way how to go about this all. So I hope that this starts some sort of conversation in this Patreon bubble. So please do let me know what you think about this, even if you, I don't know if anyone would want to listen to me for this long, but if you are listening to me, thank you, I guess, and please let me know if you did. I would appreciate that. I guess that most of you would tune out after a few seconds, if ever, but if even that, I should say, not if ever, you know. But that's my take. That's what I think about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. I really despise stablecoins, and I really despise central bank digital currencies. That concept doesn't make any sense. I mean, it makes sense to central banks, but it doesn't make sense to me as a citizen. It's a complete nonsense. We should reject that all. But I don't think that at this point, Bitcoin and all of these other cryptocurrencies are a solution that I thought that it would be, you know, and we need to be fighting for more solutions, perhaps somewhere else. We definitely need to be also fighting politically, you know, to change the laws in favor of more freedoms and more rights, and not just rely on some tech bros to change the world and save us all. You know, I don't think that's going to happen. So again, thank you very much for your support. Thank you for listening, and let me know what you think about this crypto skepticism. Stay safe, stay free. Bye-bye.